Essence Matthews finally leaves the life she built with Allen Sinclair, the polished townhouse, the expensive comfort, the almost wedding, and the painful illusion that broken people can heal each other by hiding together. Before we begin, please subscribe to Whispers of Grace Stories and follow the Kindred Spirits series as every secret, choice, and truth begins to unfold. By the time the movers pulled up to Allen Sinclair's townhouse, Essence Matthews was already parked across the street with her hands locked around the steering wheel, praying the man she was leaving would not come home early. She had told herself 100 times that she was doing the right thing, but right did not feel peaceful yet. Right felt like fear sitting in her chest, checking the rearview mirror every few seconds because every dark SUV looked like Allen's. The townhouse sat quiet beneath the evening sky, polished and expensive, just like the life she had almost convinced herself she wanted. The flowers by the walkway were still trimmed. The curtains were still pulled neatly across the front windows. The porch light still glowed like nothing inside that house had changed. But everything had changed. Half of her clothes were already gone. Her dresser was wrapped in moving blankets. Her washer and dryer had just been loaded into the truck. And inside the kitchen, taped to the refrigerator, was the letter she had written with trembling hands, because she knew if she waited to say goodbye face to face, she might not leave at all. Essence closed her eyes and pressed her forehead against the steering wheel. Allen had not exactly trapped her, and she knew better than to make him the villain just so she could feel innocent. The truth was more painful than that. Allen had become a hiding place, a beautiful, wealthy, complicated hiding place where two broken people convinced themselves they were healing because they were no longer lonely. He needed her calm, and she needed his world. He needed someone soft enough to quiet the storms his mother created, and she needed someone powerful enough to make her forget the life she had abandoned. But forgetting was not the same as healing. Luxury was not the same as love. And being wanted by another man did not erase the fact that she was still married to Kaulin Matthews, the boy who had grown into the man she once promised forever. Essence's throat tightened. Kaulin, her childhood sweetheart, her husband in every legal way that mattered, and in every spiritual way she had spent 2 years trying not to think about. Then there were the twins, Joshua and Michael, her boys, the 2 lives she had carried, birthed, loved, and then wounded when she convinced herself they would understand one day. Essence wiped under her eyes before the tears could fall too far. She was tired of crying, tired of explaining herself to herself, tired of dressing shame in pretty language. She did not leave Allen because she suddenly became brave. She left because staying meant becoming someone she could no longer recognize. She whispered into the quiet truck, "Please don't let this be another escape. Let this be the truth." A loud metallic thud cracked through the air, and Essence jerked upright so fast her shoulder hit the door. For one terrifying second, she thought Allen had come home and slammed into the moving truck. Her eyes flew toward the townhouse. Then she saw one of the movers adjusting the back of the truck, loading more boxes. Essence let out a breath that almost became a sob. "Get it together," she whispered, but her body did not listen. Her heartbeat kept pounding like it had somewhere else to be. Allen was supposed to be in a late meeting. That was what he had told her. That was the small window she had waited for, the small mercy she had needed. Still, Essence knew Allen well enough to know plans could change, especially when Maribel Sinclair was involved. His mother had a way of appearing inside every decision, every silence, every room, even when she was nowhere near the house. Essence had spent too long trying to understand that woman's power over him. Tonight, she no longer had the strength to understand it. Tonight, she only needed to leave before the whole thing collapsed around her. Another vehicle slowed near the townhouse. Its headlights crawled across the street, spilling white light over the moving truck, the curb, the mailbox, then straight toward Essence's windshield. Her stomach dropped. She could not tell the make or model. She could not tell if it was Allen. She did not wait long enough to find out. Her foot hit the gas before her mind gave permission. The truck lurched forward. Her phone slid from her lap and disappeared somewhere beneath her seat. "No, no, no," she said, one hand on the wheel while the other reached blindly toward the floorboard. The phone kept sliding farther away as she turned the corner too sharply. Her breathing became ragged. "Please don't let it be him. Please don't let it be him." She ran one stop sign, then another, barely slowing before she reached the main road. Her fingers finally brushed against the cold glass of her phone. She snatched it up like it was evidence, like it could somehow prove she had not lost her mind. When she looked in the rearview mirror and saw no one behind her, her whole body folded into relief. She pulled into the nearest empty parking lot and sat there for a moment, breathing uncontrollably. She pressed the phone to her chest. "I'm free," she whispered, but the words came out shaking. Then she said it again, softer this time, like she was trying to convince herself. "I'm free." Essence dialed the movers before fear could talk her into turning around. The phone rang once before a man answered. "Hello, this is Tony." Essence swallowed hard and forced her voice into something steady. "Tony, this is Essence Matthews. I just wanted to confirm that your team finished loading everything." She could hear noise behind him, men calling to each other, metal scraping against metal, the heavy sound of a life being removed piece by piece. "Yes, ma'am," Tony said. "We just finished loading your dresser. That should be the last of it now." Essence closed her eyes. The dresser, the one Allen had insisted on buying because the one she had before did not match the bedroom, set his mother approved. Essence remembered standing in the store beside him, pretending not to care that Maribel had already chosen everything, pretending it did not bother her that Allen kept saying, "Mother thinks," like it was a sentence that belonged in a relationship. "Okay," Essence said. "Thank you. I drove ahead to unlock the new place for you." "Sounds good," Tony replied. "My guys are locking down the truck door now, so we'll be seeing you shortly, Mrs. Matthews." Mrs. Matthews? The name landed hard. Not future Mrs. Sinclair. Essence looked down at the engagement ring Allen had given her and felt shame rise like heat behind her eyes. The ring was beautiful, expensive, and carefully chosen, but it still sat on the hand of a woman whose divorce from Kaulin was not yet final. She had spent months telling herself it was only paperwork, that her marriage was already over in every way that mattered. But tonight, with Tony calling her Mrs. Matthews, the truth felt heavier than the diamond. "Okay," she whispered, then ended the call, removed the ring, and placed it in her console for now. A few miles later, the panic broke apart, not slowly, all at once. Essence laughed so sharply it hurt her ribs, then the laughter fell into tears before she could stop it. She had left. She had actually left. The townhouse, the clothes, the trips, the gifts, the private sadness, the silent bedroom, the almost wedding, the life that looked like proof she had finally become someone worth choosing. It was behind her now, but behind her was not the same as healed. Behind her was not the same as forgiven. The road stretched ahead toward Meadow Heights, the town she had once been so desperate to outgrow. She used to think leaving that place meant she was finally becoming who she was supposed to be. Now she was driving back with a moving truck behind her and a heart full of things she did not know how to repair. Her future felt like a room with no furniture in it, empty, echoing, waiting to see what she would bring inside. By the time Essence reached the new apartment, the sky had turned darker and the streetlights were glowing against the windows. The place was smaller than Allen's townhouse, but it was hers. No marble entryway, no designer furniture chosen by a woman who never thought essence was good enough. No grand staircase, no expensive silence, just cream-colored walls, clean floors, and enough space to start again if she could find the courage to stay. Essence unlocked the door and stood in the entrance for a moment before stepping inside. The apartment smelled like fresh paint and emptiness. She turned on the first lamp she had brought in herself and watched the soft light spread across the room. It did not make the space feel warm yet, but it made it feel possible. Her phone vibrated in her hand, and for 1 second she thought it was Allen. It was her mother. Essence answered quickly. "Baby, are you okay?" Janine's voice came through full of worry, and that one question almost undid her. Essence pressed her hand to her mouth, nodded even though her mother could not see her, then forced herself to speak. "Yes, Mom, I'm okay. Everything worked out. I'm at the apartment now, and the movers aren't far behind me." Janine released a breath. "Thank goodness. I have been worried sick." "I know," Essence said, giving a small laugh that did not fool either of them. "I know you were." There was a pause, a mother's pause, the kind that carried love, warning, memory, and disappointment all at once. "Essence," Janine said gently, "this time you have to be steady." Essence closed her eyes. She knew what her mother meant without needing her to say the boys' names. Joshua and Michael had already watched their mother leave once. They had already learned how to ask questions adults answered badly. They had already felt the kind of absence that does not make sense to children because it has nothing to do with distance. "I know," Essence whispered. "I'm going to tell them. I need to do it right." "They miss you," Janine said. "They love you, but they need more than excitement. They need to know you're not going to disappear again." Essence nodded slowly, tears sliding down her face. "Tell them I have a surprise, but don't tell them everything yet. I want to pick them up tomorrow afternoon so they can see the place and help me unpack. I want them to feel like they're part of this." Janine softened. "Okay, baby, I'll tell them. And Essence?" "Yes, ma'am?" "Don't let shame make you run from what love is trying to help you rebuild." Essence looked around the empty apartment and pressed her hand to her chest. "I'm trying, Mom. I know you are." Essence heard the ache in her mother's voice, the kind of ache that had survived anger and circled back into love. "I love you," Essence said. "I love you too, baby." When the movers arrived, Essence stood near the door and directed them where to place each piece of furniture. The sofa looked too large against one wall, then too lonely against another. Her dresser scraped lightly against the bedroom doorway. Boxes lined the hallway, each one labeled with a life she was not sure she deserved to open yet. Kitchen, bathroom, books, boys. The box marked boys nearly took her down. She had packed extra blankets, old photo albums, 2 framed school pictures, and the small stack of drawings Joshua and Michael had made for her over the years. She had kept them all. Even in the middle of her worst decisions, some part of her had known she needed proof that she had once been trusted by the 2 people she had hurt the most. After Tony and his team brought in the last box, Essence thanked them, signed the paperwork, and closed the door behind them. The apartment settled into a silence so complete it made her ears ring. She leaned against the wall and looked at her phone. There was one call she had been avoiding and waiting for at the same time. Kaulin. She had told him a few months ago that she was leaving Allen. Their conversations since then had been careful, tender, and strange. Not romantic exactly, not ordinary either. They spoke like 2 people standing on opposite sides of a bridge that had burned, but not completely fallen. Sometimes he made her laugh the way he did when they were teenagers. Sometimes his voice grew quiet, and she knew he was remembering things neither of them had healed from. Sometimes he asked about the move and the boys, and Essence let herself believe that maybe he was leaving a door open. Not wide, not promised, just open enough for hope to slip through. She stared at his name on the screen, and for a moment, that old feeling came back. The schoolgirl nervousness, the childhood warmth, the memory of the boy who used to walk beside her like the world could not touch them if they stayed close enough. "Okay," she breathed. "Just call him." She tapped his name and listened as the phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Her heart began to lift before she could stop it. Then someone answered. "Hello?" It was a woman's voice, clear, calm, unapologetic. Essence went still. She pulled the phone away and checked the screen as if she had accidentally called the wrong number. Kaulin Matthews. The name stared back at her. She brought the phone slowly to her ear. "Hello?" Essence said, but her voice had shrunk into something she barely recognized. "May I speak to Kaulin?" The woman did not hesitate. "He's in the shower. Should I have him call you back?" Essence did not answer. She could not. Her heartbeat was suddenly so loud it drowned out the apartment, the hum of the refrigerator, everything. She ended the call before the woman could say another word. For several seconds, she stood in the middle of the room with the phone in her hand, staring at nothing. She had imagined so many versions of this night. Allen coming home early, Allen begging, Allen raging, Allen's mother calling and threatening, the movers canceling, her mother crying, the boys asking questions she did not have answers for. But she had not imagined another woman answering Kaulin's phone. She had not imagined hearing that calm voice say he was in the shower like she belonged there, like she had permission to answer what Essence still thought of as sacred. The bitterness came before she could stop it. I guess I'm not the only one starting over. The thought made her ashamed, but not enough to erase it. Essence leaned back against the wall and looked at the apartment that had felt possible just minutes earlier. Now the room felt too quiet, too exposed. The furniture was inside, but nothing felt settled. The boxes were stacked, but nothing felt safe. She had finally walked away from the man who had become a hiding place for both of their brokenness. But when another woman answered Kaulin's phone, she realized leaving Allen did not mean the life she abandoned was still waiting for her. Essence slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor. Her phone rested beside her. The box-marked boys sat across the room. Outside, the moving truck drove away, its red lights fading into the night. And for the first time since she left the townhouse, Essence understood that freedom was not the end of the story. It was only the place where truth stopped letting her hide. Sometimes we call it a new beginning, because that sounds better than admitting we are walking back into the consequences of old choices. Essence wanted freedom, but freedom did not greet her with applause. It greeted her with truth, and truth has a way of meeting us at the door before healing gets comfortable. So ask yourself, have I ever used someone, something, or some version of success as a hiding place from what I needed to face? Have I expected the life I left behind to stay untouched while I figured myself out? Thank you so much for tuning in. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to Whispers of Grace Stories for the next episode of Kindred Spirits released every Thursday.